So, a really, really solid team. They've had some impressive results already, despite being so young and so, freshly put together. We'll have to see if they can perform today, and if they can be very deadly. This leads us to our last team, Chernobyl.
Yeah, this is a bit more of an unfamiliar team for those who aren't as familiar with the wide Brawl Stars scene. CDI has Hero, Castillo, Noel 22 and Distance. They won't be joining us there, as I did mention earlier. Chernobyl will be playing from home as they were unable to get to the destination in Salzburg today. But once more, they're definitely capable of providing an early upset. And honestly, I can't really say I would like to see it, because those underdog stories are really what make esports what it is. And these players who aren't too familiar to the larger Brawl Stars scene are definitely some players who could do it, as you're not going to have that level of analytics that you do have against the top teams. And an upset is definitely on the table if they do play it right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those teams that has been grinding for a long time. A lot of those guys have been in the esports scene for a very long time. And for some of them, it's routine today. Even though, it's a land event, it's not really routine at this point. But still, they are coming in favors. We're looking particularly at SK and Big. But notably at Chernobyl Dribblers, they've definitely shown us in the past they are capable of winning those upset situations, getting out of very tricky situations. The question is, can they do that today on stage here in Salzburg? I think there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, if they can pull it off when it matters, that's when it's really going to make the biggest difference. This bracket, I would say, is seeded quite well as well, so it's going to require an upset to see one of those teams not make it. As Big and SK aren't going to be facing that first round, it's going to open up a lot of possibilities for a final that can be absolutely explosive. And if not, an upset can also make that the top range of games as well. Just because of how plainly amazing these teams are, all four teams definitely capable of taking each other down, and that's really what opens it up.
All right, well, guys, we are ready to introduce our first team to the stage. Please welcome SK Gaming. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Derek's Semantic Pedro, their coach, is there as well as Jenna, couldn't quite be here physically with us. But nevertheless, an extremely solid team. We'll have to see what they can come up with today strategy-wise, familiarizing themselves a bit with the scene, getting comfortable on their chairs and almost ready to brawl. It's, the team was perhaps the most experienced in Brawl Stars. They have legendary players. Semantic considered as one of the best players in the world right now. A lot of eyes going to be on him today to perform, but also, on Pedro, see how well he can, approach the game as a player rather than a coach, as he mostly does. We've seen him, stand in for some of his players before, performing, fairly well. Today, though, they absolutely need to play at their best if they want to win this competition.
Yeah, honestly, my eyes are all on that last player that you have just seen now. Skyrex is the only player near enough at this competition who has had that LAN experience. And you really can't count it out, considering he's been to two of those World Finals, one which was in a LAN event, so definitely got the most experience at this level. And I feel that's something that can be really exciting at this point, just because he's going to have to provide that level of consistency that he always does in a different setting. And I feel like that can really shake up the works with the addition of Pedro as well. Not going to have that same competitive experience as the usual teammate Jettin, and it can also shake up a bit of teamwork as well, which can definitely throw a bit of a spanner in the mix and open up things for nobly and not more, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that experience, especially LAN experience, as you mentioned, goes a long way. I mean, for a lot of those players, it's going to be an unfamiliar setting, and no matter what, it's been a couple of years, perhaps, since they last went to LAN, at least a year and a couple of months. It was monthly qualifiers, monthly finals of March 2020, the last LAN event for Brawl Stars. That's a long time ago. And any experience they have gotten from then can really be nice. Now the pressure is going to be up, the nerves are going to be up for a lot of those guys, and making sure they have, as much as possible to stand on really goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely. Just amplifying the fact as well that I feel maybe an underdog story is definitely on the cards. Nobody aren't going to have that same pressure that SK have, because being the top team that they are, they're going to have a lot more pressure on them to perform at this point. And I feel Noble Elite are going to be coming into this, not expecting a loss, I'd say, but it's definitely on the cards for them. I'm sure that the larger audience as well will agree with me on that sense. And SK are going to have all the pressure on them, and I feel like it kind of opens up a bit of a loophole for Noble Elite to take advantage of, especially because one of their players is not here as well, so he's going to have even less pressure on him to perform because he's not sat next to us in this live event.
Well, talking about Noble Elite Black, please welcome them to the stage. I'm excited to meet those guys. Let's get them in. Getting themselves comfortable as they are about to face SK Gaming. It's going to be a tough matchup for Noble Elite, definitely coming in as an underdog here. But as you said, sometimes that can be an advantage, in fact, because there's less pressure. There's not really anything to lose. They come here with the hopes of winning, but, you know, expecting a tough fight, at least facing a team like SK. It's going to be a tough matchup, but I think that's a lovely first semi-final to get us going. Just as a reminder, it's going to be single elimination bracket, so one match lost, you are going to be done for the day. It's harsh, it can be heartbreaking, but that is going to be the format, and you know, those players, they take that into account, and they will make sure they don't leave anything for grabs for their opponents to try to take advantage of. Any mistakes will get punished at this level of play, and they need to make sure that their backs are covered, that they just, you know, show us the best performance they ever had.
Yeah, definitely. Pressure's on now, and this is where it's going to count as well. No lives left, as we did mention. It is going to be single elimination, which kind of opens up to the fact that an upset definitely can happen. I keep on emphasising this fact as well, because, you know, honestly, with these level of teams and the pressure that is going to be on us, I mean, mistakes are going to be made, and it's going to be who capitalises on them better and makes that play to just be able to take the win out of their hands. And definitely, especially in this draft format, getting the right game modes and getting the right plays early on is going to affect the larger game.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, you know, the small mistakes you do, and everyone does, even the best teams in the world, they're going to get abused by your opponents. And when you are in a LAN setting, especially with as little experience as most of the players have today, nerves are going to be coming in, the pressure is going to rise up, and that's going to lead to more of those mistakes perhaps. And you have to be, you know, ice in the veins if you want to stand a chance to, you know, capitalize on your opponent's mistakes and try to minimize yours, so you can try to get as much value as possible from every decision you take. And, you know, that's going to start very early on in the draft already for the modes and bans, but also, you know, directly in the team compositions they are going to go for, which brawlers they decide to play. You know, that's where the level of preparation really comes into account as well, making sure that as much as possible was handled before you get on stage, so when the nerves are there, you have something to rely on, something stable, and just a foundation to build upon.
Yeah, as I say, especially as you advance through those rounds, you're definitely going to be getting more and more pressure on you, and that's when a really helpful, good game mode can come into play. And I feel like, I don't know if they're going to be leaving those later on and trying to have that reassurance later on in the set, or just get them out of the way early and try and build up that lead that is going to give you a huge advantage early on. It's honestly up to the players, and I'm quite excited to see how they're going to craft these different game modes and see which ones they're going to be picking first and which ones last, and depending on their game plan, how that's going to affect them.
You have it on screen right now, guys. SK versus Noble Elite Black. Gonna be starting off their draft. We'll see which modes they pick and which one is gonna be the fifth and final mode. Will be random. Out of the 6 or 7, I believe there are. So a little chance perhaps to see some knockout today, since it is playable. A lot of teams not really looking to bring it on the table, as it is a very new game mode. It's not in the competitive map pool and game modes either, so don't have the most experience there, but as we have mentioned so many times over the group stage, it's the perfect way to upset your opponents, because no matter what, I mean, if you practice it, you know you will have scrimmed it more than your opponents. Double swoosh for Gem Grab is going to be the first pick here from Noble Elite Black. SK Gaming going for nuts and bolts in Siege. Siege, you know, pretty much the game mode we know as Day 4. They had a 100% win rate for a while. And when I say well, I mean a couple of months, which, considering how much they played it, it's incredibly impressive. And they're definitely, you know, picking what they're a little bit more familiar with to make sure that that's out of the way. And look at that. We are going to see some knockout here in set number 3. It's the pick from Noble Lead. And we were talking about upsets and about some game modes that are a bit more, you know, likely to see those upsets. Knockout definitely being one of them. That's going to be on Gold Arm Clutch, which, honestly, we haven't cast all that much knockout. We definitely enjoyed it when we did during the group stage. We had one set of knockout. This is going to be the second set, and it's going to be straight in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I mean, consider it's the best of 5, we're guaranteed to be seeing it because that's the third set as well. And this is definitely one of the picks that I thought Noble League would try and take on if it wasn't banned out by SK Gaming, because it's a game mode that you're not really scrimming if you're one of those top teams aiming for a championship spot, because SK have secured that. They're going to be definitely focusing on that World Finals at the moment, which means it leaves a bit of a loophole for Noble League to come in and pick this knockout, which they have clearly done. And that definitely opens up a different route that they can take. Take SK Gaming by storm in a game that they're not going to have scrimmed, and they possibly might have done it. Definitely be confident in picking it third. You must have been doing that. So I feel like it's definitely throwing a bit of a spanner in the works and getting some pressure where needed in that third set, where it could all be coming down to them winning or losing in that set. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's not like it's the 5th and random game mode, right? It's the 3rd one, which means that Noble League they plan on playing. Best of 5 means that we at least get to 3 sets, so we definitely will see that knockout set in this first match of the day. And that shows that, you know, it's not just random that we get there. They definitely want to go into that knockout, and they definitely came in prepared. Because, you know, no matter what, you have to come in as prepared as possible, especially if you're facing a team like SK Gaming. You just need to show everything you got. And Noble League Black, I mean, so far showing some good signs. We got our roller bands in as well. Amber and Primo for SK Gaming, Stu and Bell for Noble League Black. We're covering quite a couple of those strong brawlers at the moment. Notably Stu, Bell, Primo. I feel like Amber maybe a little bit less strong, but it's a brawler that SK Gaming traditionally have tried to avoid, just because it's not one of their favorite brawlers to face.
Yeah, they do usually get that Amber out of the way, but I'm quite surprised to see that El Primo's banned. I feel like it's definitely not a common thing for them to get out of the way. Seeing how strong Semantic actually is on that brawler, it's really surprising to see that ban coming forward. But if you think about it, with Jetton not in the mix for at least the first couple of sets until they might require him, it's definitely good to get that brawler out of the way, because he might have to adjust to something that Jetton would have usually played and, you know, compensate for him not being there, as Pedro's definitely very comfortable in this competitive environment with Jetton.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something to take into account as well. The versatility that each player, you know, brings. Obviously, usually you have your mid player, then 2 players on each lane that have a more similar brawler pool that they can play and bring in. Since you can only have one of each brawler in your team, you need to make sure that you have, the level of versatility and being able to play multiple of those brawlers. We see so often as well that depending on the situation, it's not going to be the same player to play the same brawler every time. It really depends on preferences, on the maps, and on which brawlers your teammates are going to be comfortable with. And having Pedro around, definitely going to be a bit of a disadvantage for SK Gaming, but he's shown us in the past as well that in tournaments, when he had to play, he has performed, maybe not at the level of most pros, but also not necessarily being a weight for the team, which I think already goes a long way and shows his level as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, just adding that on top of the consistency of Sky and Semantic, I feel like it's definitely doable even with Pedro here. If you just look at how consistent SK have been throughout this year, adding one little bit of a change might not change too much, considering, as you said, Semantic's probably valued as near enough the best player in the world at the moment, with Sky being as consistent as he is, and he does do it a lot, playing these mid-type brawlers, and being able to just stay in that mid and not really go down is the biggest role to take in a Brawl Stars game. You've got to be able to pinch those lanes, and just having his pitchability with Pedro on the lane, I don't think it's going to really affect too much. He can help him out in the positions that he needs to be helped, and just assist him along the way into trying to take this win over.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that to a certain extent for SK, it's also going to be about making sure they are solid rather than excellent today. As, playing this Pedro, they will have to cover maybe a little bit more ground as players and make sure that, some mistakes are avoided and not take too many risks either. I don't think that's going to be the move for them today. I mean, obviously, there's only going to be one way to find out. On the side of Noble Elite, they have shown us some really good stuff, some really nice upsets as well in the past. Definitely not rated as highly as SK Gaming are right now, which is difficult because to most, SK Gaming is going to be the best team in the world, definitely in the region. Had a couple more struggles lately, but still, I mean, when you win 4 or 5 monthly finals in a row, you're okay dropping one in the grand finals. Yeah, they are just that good. An impressive team for the least. The question is, how well can they play today in those specific settings, and how well is Noble going to be able to try to match that level of play that SK has brought in so consistently for the year?
Yeah, as I did say earlier, you know, Noble are that underdog who can make a huge upset, and I feel like this is the position they need to do it if they go to. When they don't have that pressure, when they can take a win off SK Gaming, especially because that coach is going to be playing, it definitely opens up a lot more possibilities than what it does close off by not having that third player. He's not going to have the pressure, and he's still going to be playing from home as well, which yet it isn't for now. We might see him subbing in a little bit later, but overall, I definitely feel like Noble have got a bit of an advantage considering their 3 competitive players are still going to be there, but whether or not they're going to be able to take down the 2 players of SK Gaming who have been so solid all year long, it's a bit of a questionable circumstance, especially when you have Pedro, who does have the capability of playing that competitive level if he does get surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe to add up and just slightly on your statement about John playing at home for Noble League, he wasn't feeling the best, you know, just a little bit ill lately, which might impact his performance as well, potentially. We'll see how it goes down in game. But still, it's something to take into account for sure, and also communication-wise, I mean, you do have some advantages of being all right next to each other, being able to be a bit more visual about what you want to convey to your teammates. That's not going to be there for him. His teammates, Andre and Adri, are going to be here physically, though, as we saw a couple of times already on the stage. They have a little bit of experience, not quite as much as SK once again. And, you know, with 5,000 euros on the line, as well as, you know, the honor of winning the first Brawl Starsa LAN in over a year, it's definitely going to be a bit of a scary prospect.
Yeah, I was going to say it's definitely on the cards for that one. I mean, overall, they're just going to have to bring that top level, and I feel like that is something they're going to be able to do. And, you know, if SK Gaming do take a loss here, I'm sure they will be disappointed about it, but they know they've had some hiccups along the way, and definitely be understanding of that loss. So you can't really say either team's going to win, because I feel like it's going to be an extremely even match, just by the advantage and disadvantage that different teams have. I definitely feel like it's going to add up to a really, really strong game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also, as you rightly said, you know, similar for Big One as well, that is in contestant for those World Final spots. SK already qualified because they were that dominant this year. You know, even if it were to be a loss today, sure, it's definitely not ideal, it's definitely going to be disappointing, but that means the mistakes that happened today, some of them will probably be fixed by the time they get to Worlds, and that's the bigger picture for those guys too. Making sure that, you know, they get as much experience and LAN as possible before Worlds, because there's not a lot of teams that will have any experience for Worlds in a LAN setting, in an offline setting. You know, having the low sounds of the arena in general, being there physically, the nerves, and just everything that comes with it. It's a very particular thing that a lot of players have gone through in the Brawl Starsa scene, and it's a huge advantage coming into World Finals at the end of the year. So they want to make sure they get that experience. I mean, right now this year there's only going to be 3 teams that will have that experience, 2 that have a shot at going to Worlds, and that's just a huge privilege for those guys, just as it is for us, to be honest, as casters.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, overall, as you said, these teams are going to be qualified to World Finals, just provides that extra level of comfortability that they are going to have. They know they've got that in their locker, so they've just got to be a bit more, you know, careful and calm about this one to get that experience that they need to be able to take a stall at that World Finals. And I feel like that's exactly what SK are going to be trying to do here, regardless of Jet not being here. It's going to provide Semantic with that experience that he needs, and being as good as he is at the game when playing online. If you can translate that to a setting such as World Finals or even this LAN as well, it's going to provide such a boost for SK in those finals, just having that LAN experience that near enough like 9 of the teams probably aren't even going to have anything.
Yeah, that's an absolutely fair point. Just as a reminder, we are taking a little time before we get started with our first match. There are some stuff that needs work on the background, but as soon as they can get in game, we'll make sure we catch that action live for you guys. But if you guys are watching from home on Twitch, or if you guys are at the event here physically with us. Honestly, we're super glad to be here, to be able to meet so many of the players, but also the fans. It's just a lot of fun, and overall, yeah, a very new experience for a lot of us. So, yeah, absolutely thrilled about getting towards that first match of the day, the first match in the LAN event for, what, 15, 16 months? Yeah, COVID hit us hard, and we made sure that, you know, everything is possible to happen today. Trinidad Rivers couldn't quite make it, a couple of players couldn't quite make it, but for the most part, I mean, it's just so exciting to meet all those guys that we've been casting, playing with, and just talking with for the longest time.
Yeah, it's all about those baby steps, getting back to where we were beforehand. I feel like it's an absolutely great set. This is absolutely a wonderful stepping stone to get through that barrier that we do have between us due to that COVID happening. So definitely a stepping stone and a step in the right direction to getting a lot more LAN events going in Brawl Stars, which is just really exciting.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone, as you said, right? It's a good start for the scene, something that I think we really need as well, and a big shout out to Clash of Leagues, obviously, for making this all happen. So far, I mean, you know, production-wise, everything looks impeccable. I hear that we should be getting into our first game very, very shortly. Just as a reminder, this is SK Gaming versus Noble Elite Black. SK mostly German and Austrian, so a little more local. On the side of Noble Elite Black, they come from Croatia. One of their players is playing from there as well as we speak. So a little bit more of a trip for them, which is both exciting and maybe a little bit more scary too, as you know, it's less familiar to them. But here we go, guys. Game number one. It's SK Gaming versus Noble Elite Black. We kick things off in double swoosh here for Gem Grab. We want that G matchup mid. Pam on both sides, and then a Tara for Noble Elite. Pedro going for the spike instead. Two brawlers that have been really popping off lately. We'll see which one performs better here in this first game.
Yeah, I really do think Tara has dropped out on meta a lot more than Spike has. It seems like that's just, you know, the stable die at the moment, getting that curveball down, using that life plan to get yourself healed up, especially with a Pam going quite aggressive on you. It does add up to a lot of heals. It does sadly go down on this left-hand side, though, which is going to provide some really good control for John early on in this game. Getting that healing station down is going to provide even more capability to hold this lane as long as he needs to, and that's giving Andrew enough time to get in that mid, get 4 gems picked up, and even it out, and pull in hand as well is going to go quite a long way. To top that off, Andrew also is going to pick his up a long way too.
Yeah, Andre does have that pull, and that can really go a long way with that key. Being able to get those gems from afar, but Semantic goes aggressive. Does get punished for it eventually, but it creates some space, wastes the pull from Andre as well, which does really go a long way. And now SK Gaming is a single gem lead, have a pull to Skyrix, and we're looking if he can connect that on anyone, preferably onto Andre, and try to grab those gems with some nice mid-control and pull coming in. It's not going to be enough to secure that deal onto Skyrix. Skyrix pulling John goes down as well. One more gem that will start the counter for SK.
Yeah, nightmare for Noble Elite here. Now, one thing that was capable of turning the game around was just wasted by Adria. Skyrix just hooked onto that wall. He has picked up his pull once more, though, but gets taken down along the way. So Manti's going to hold this side wonderfully, knowing Andrew is the one who has that capability to turn the game around with a single G pull. Just going to keep him back long enough to be able to secure this game. Pedro picking up a kill as well, and that is going to secure the first game of this round event to SK Gaming.
Good stuff from SK. I mean, Noble Elite definitely giving them a good fight in that first game for sure. I do feel like Spike did have a little bit more value. I think the problem with Tara is that although it is a great brawler, and those keepers, those shots, those schools, whatever you want to call them, they can turn around a game completely, just like a G pool does. It's nice to have that combination, right? The little problem is if your pools aren't that impactful, you only get so many in one game. You need to make sure they hit hard, otherwise it's just a big loss of value, as it does struggle with, like sunset.
Yeah, it's just so difficult to get that super, and I feel that's why Spike has thrived a bit more, especially that curveball, and against a ball like Pam as well, where that life plant is so useful to trying to block the damage, but also get that heal off when it does go down too. I feel like it's definitely just a bit more valuable, especially because you do get quite a bit of value off of that gadget in comparison to Tara, where it can go down rather easily against the Pam, because they're going to be running towards it, and that's where Pam is going to be.
Yeah, it gets countered very easily as well, right? You have something like a Sandy, and it's one shot, you get wasted. Spike, I feel like there's a lot less counters to get in as well. Has a lot of HP, can get it behind cover as well. It's just overall really great, very versatile. Whereas Terra, although I think in the right situation, it can be one of the strongest captains in the game. If it's not lining up for you, it can be close to using this. And you know, those big buttons, you need to make sure you use them very wisely. We have 3 of them each game, and they can turn around games completely. We've seen that happen in the past. So far, it has not for Noble Elite. It's SK to pick up the first game. As a reminder, it's a best of 5 sets. Best of 3 games for each set. So every time a team wins 2 games of the same set, then on that set, first team to 3 sets wins the match and is going to proceed to the grand final.
Yeah, well there you go. I mean, we saw Noble Elite did have a good foot in the door in that game. They definitely were keeping hold of a lot of the control that they didn't have. But generally, that turnaround capability they had to it. The G can get close enough and the Tara just missed the pull, which, you know, it can be due to those nerves, but these are the mistakes we've got to iron out, and there, the mistakes that a person like Sky, who did take advantage of it, are going to do. They're going to be taking advantage of those misplays. Even if the slightest amount, like 0.1 of a tire, is going to change a lot, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, well, moving on to game number 2, early gadget popped by Adri. Push SK Gaming back for the start, but Sky's going aggressive on the middle. Looking for those gems early on. So far, it's pretty much uncontested. Noble Elite teaming up on the right-hand side, not really able to find too much value of it. Besides that pool that right now is available, if you can connect it on Skyrax, that can turn around that start. But so far, it hasn't been going exactly right for Noble.
Yeah, that's exactly what he wants to be doing. You know, the Sky's just so good at this mid. He's got to be able to have that turnaround capability, which is what he's got in his hands now. He's just got to be making more use of it in his last game, all available now from Austriji as well, because he'll get it along the way. He's going to get hit by smack, though he has to reveal the decision. Also, the fact that he does have that super ability to take it like super surprise if he didn't play it right. That hit into a from John Lee is going to provide some good deals from Andrew along the way, who is going to be starting to get up to good HP now. It's all available in him, and to Scout can't overextend that little bit that he wants to. You see him edging up the map a little bit here. But he's going to decide to go around the left-hand side and assist Pedro with some of those magical heals, and also some shots as well.
Yeah, so far the Spy definitely bringing in more value in my opinion than the Tara, but the suck comes in, it's going to connect us to Semantic. It's not enough to find a kill in the end, but Semantic moves a bit too much upward, it's going to get taken out. And now maybe a chance for Noble Elite to build up on that mistake. 9 gems on SK. Skyrax with the pull across the map onto Adri. Takes him down and now full control of the center. They should be going for that final jam. Semantic picks it up, gets pulled back by Noble Elite. And Noble Elite are not done fighting for this first set.
Yeah, but now you see Skyrax knows that he's nowhere near that pull. Only got a couple of shots back off the PAM on it, so no chance for a reset here unless they do pick up a kill, and it's definitely a possibility with Adri on that super. He's going to take some shots on Semantic, but just his pure HP alone is enough to keep him back for long enough. 5 seconds left now, and he's going to go down on top of it too, and that's SK Gaming taking the first set. I'd say rather comfortably, but Noble League definitely had some chances to turn around. They just weren't executed as well as they needed to.
Yeah, I think that strategy-wise, we had some great ideas from Noble Elite. It just wasn't quite enough, was it? I like the idea of Tara coming in, especially with that clutch potential, those pulls that can turn around games. But you need to hit them, and you need to hit them on those gem carriers or enough to really open up the map, get a lot of control of it. It just wasn't the case here for Noble Elite, and it was a bet, but a bet that didn't pay off in their favor. And SK Gaming, their runaway was the first set.
Yeah, it's just the consistency of those players. And also, I keep repeating, Skyrax is just always so good in that mid. You see him not dying a single time in those 2 games there, and that's really what sets the difference between him and a different player on the G mid. Andrew did play it well. He kept his lives going strong, but he just does not have that capability in Sky, especially in gem grab on his probably strongest ball of it is G. You've got to be a bit scared of playing against him in mid there, and I feel that's maybe what Andrew did have a bit of an issue with there, and the mid was just going so strong, not going down, and that's really what's going to make the difference. Yeah,
and it's even more important that he's the gem carrier for them, right? That consistency, you need it as a gem carrier, because the slightest mistake, the slightest little choke here and there, you're going to get pulled by another team, you're going to get isolated, you're going to get taken down, and then suddenly you lose all your gems. That's the entire objective in gem grab. As simple as that, can get turned around really quickly, and that consistency is much more important than that clutch factor, I think, especially as a gem carrier on the lanes. Honestly, I did like the idea of the Tara. I think that's a good shout when you're facing a team like SK, when you are the underdog in that situation. But, you know, I also feel like Pedro and the Spy did an amazing job. Very consistent throughout that game, just able to harass that left lane constantly, not give any piece to Noble lead. And that's the first set already.
Yeah, you see, that's where Siege can really make a difference. Obviously, that first one was Noble to pick is the destruction. SK do have a lead considering it's their map as well as Siege running next, which we know SK is really well known for. And I just want to add, though, it is a bit volatile. It doesn't have that same consistent factor that Gengrab does, where, you know, if you stay up in mid and keeping the gems in hand, you're always going to be winning. It's got a bit of a factor where if you do win the first two pushes and lose the last one and fully commit for it, you're going to have a bit of an issue in defending that, and that's why it can really make a huge difference to the team who is a bit of an underdog can take a win.
Yeah, I mean, it is the game modes of upsets, isn't it? And we've seen it over and over again. Where it does get a bit scary for Overly Black is that the one team where we haven't seen the inconsistency in those upsets, that was SK. It's, you know, 100% win rate. That was for, what, 5 months? That's incredible. That's incredible. And it is in the most volatile, least consistent game mode in Brawl Stars history, where we've seen so many underdog stories happen, so many big teams choke or just mess something up in the Bolt economy. SK Gaming, always on point for the Bolt economy. Once in a while, they're going to drop a game or a set, but it's so rare, and Noble League are going to have to show their best performance if they want to make it happen.
Yeah, and imagine quite a lot of that consistency in the bot management does come from Pedro along the way too. Having that coach in your ear during the game, telling him, but also having another brain in as a mix is going to make a huge difference. And having him play now, it can make a bit of a difference. He's going to be wanting to focus on his lane, focus on the game, and not really care as much about the ball count as you do from the side point of view. As casters, as a coach, you can really watch and see the larger field, where if you are playing, you're only going to be focusing on the matchups that you want to be taking. Some accidental ball pickups can come in, and that's where the real mistakes and differences in strategies here can really come in and make a bit of a difference.
That's the challenge for Pedro as well, right? We know him and praise him for that mental aptitude and knowledge of the game. So far, he's been able to translate it and apply it in-game pretty well in that first set. Although he wasn't challenged too much, I think he had a pretty decent matchup playing that spike against the Pam, being able to get those healing stations out of the way rather quickly. But maybe in Siege, where the lanes are a little bit more volatile and you do end up moving around more as the bolts spawn in way more directions and further away from each other than in Gengrab the gems do, maybe things can get a little bit more heated up. It is definitely a game mode that is about team play, that is about coordination, and it is about that bolt economy that we fear so much. But hopefully, you know, we can make it work just fine. There are a couple of tech issues. Again, in the meantime, I think Laura has something prepared for us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Teddy. And we are here in the midst of the offline setup. And as you can see, we have a lot of attractions for our visitors today. Like we have here the A1 stall, and you can have a mini golf section in here. You can maybe go a little bit in this direction. You can see the mini golf matches. And of course, in the background, we have ZTE, our sponsor, which is providing a good overview of the newest products we have. And on the other side, we have some VR action, so you can also head over here and have some virtual reality experience. You can dive into interesting games. And as you can see, you've got to keep the balance if you do that. This doesn't look too simple, I gotta say. But it sure is a lot of fun. So it's not only something you can watch here, it's also something you can experience with your full body and get a proper workout, I would say. And also I'm looking forward to do some mini golf as well. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should go around a little more. So I'm not going to lose my camera here. And maybe if you have a little time, you guys. Yeah? Are you enjoying all of this? The gaming arena and level up?
Yes.
And have you ever played Brawl Stars before?
No.
But as you can see, it's quite impressive and it's quite a game. Would you try it today?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe we can have a match afterwards, after we're done with our section. Thank you so much. Yeah, and maybe we should also take a little look at the Icarus section afterwards. There's a line waiting, and at the moment we're skiing with the VR setup. So as you see, we can really balance with the whole board and really get into that full skiing experience. Although I gotta admit, we don't have that much snow at the moment in Austria. So this is really nice, and we really have a lot to offer today, besides our incredible matches, of course. So yeah, we have the Twitch chat is rumbling. I heard from Teddy just so now, so yeah. Maybe we can go a little bit farther down there and have a look at the products that are displayed. As you can see, it's a whole range where you can also sit and just enjoy the show. And this is the mobile gaming area where you can take your friends and just game a little bit in the meantime. And of course there's also a Smash tournament, for example. And yeah, some League of Legends I saw at the Raccoon station. Oh, and there are some people waiting. Let's wing back. Yeah! Can I get some hype from the audience? How are you feeling? Oh, here are some dancing sections. And are you enjoying the day today? Are you enjoying the day? Where's the hype? It's eSport Offline. What an event. Yeah, so we are in the midst of everything and we are feeling the passion of everybody here, of all the esports fans. Oh, he loves it. And all the gaming fans, of course. And I think we will get back to Teddy and let's see what he has to say about the pitch check.
Well, first of all, I want to give a particular shout out to Laura for filling for us. It's an incredibly difficult job as a host, and it goes a long way introducing us to the entire arena and everything with it. So far, it's been a ton of fun. We only have one set. There are still some technical difficulties, I think, regarding internet connection, but they should be fixed really, really shortly, and then we can proceed to usual and hopefully have no more problems for the remaining games.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, so far, it seemed to be so good as we saw the first set go quite smoothly. Firmly in SK's favour, I would say, taking that 2-0 rather convincingly, regardless of a few chances of missed turnaround from Noble Link. So definitely going to be on the lookout for that, especially given let's see next. And also, you can't forget about the knockout being the third set as well. So definitely going to put a bit of a change on things if not played right by SK Gaming. Got to be able to score the siege set first to take that advantage, just in case they do take a bit of an upset against Noble Link in the knockout, which definitely cards if they are going to be picking up a double.
Yeah, I think that, you know, especially to explain a bit more to some of the newer viewers who are less familiar with Brawl Stars, I agree. It was a pretty convincing set from SK, and I think it was further more because, you know, it's their big, Noble Link's big on a game mode, so that's where they wanted to play, and they performed alright. I think that, you know, a couple gems difference in both games wasn't a huge difference, and there was that potential, especially when you play brawlers that can clutch up like Tara, or like June, of course, but that's pretty much a given at this point. Now we're moving to Siege. This is SK's territory, this is where they want to play, this is where they excel. I'm sure they're looking to show us just that in a couple of seconds against Noble League.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine imagine so. You kind of got to think about the particular cogs that can come in. You've got the likes of throwers, which have been a huge staple of Siege recently. Very much in the meta. Barley going to be doing a lot of damage to that Siege when you do get up and close, when you get those pushes secured. Along the Sprout as well does do a lot of damage, especially from a long range. And when you do start to connect those shots, the wall is also absolutely amazing for defense. So that's the thing with Siege, you've got to have kind of a bit of a balanced hybrid always throughout. In some different game modes you can go for something extremely aggressive, something extremely defensive, and play your play styles of that. But I feel with Siege, you've always got to have a bit of a hybrid to be able to defend and get on the offense, should I say, and definitely secure the damage and also the defenses, because at the end of the day, that's the name of the game.
Yeah, it's one of the modes where you don't really have the choice to choose for a playstyle, right? You have to be very versatile, as you will be defending at some point, you will be attacking at some point, and unless you know that you are getting all 3 siege bots, you are going to have to defend eventually, and that just shows how much you need to be delivering, that they're able to bring in tons of different options and roles and counters, and try to maximize your chances at victory. We'll get into it very, very shortly, I'm sure. But SK Gaming so far looking pretty good, winning a Noble League's pick, and now it's SK's pick. It's their best game mode. Everyone thinks of Siege, thinks of SK. When you say SK, they think of Siege. So they aren't that tied together. I know it's Semantic's favorite game mode as well. I heard that in an interview a while back. So, you know, looking to shine today, as is SK overall. And normally black. So far it's been a bit of a challenge, but I still have hope for them, especially with that knockout set. I think that's where things can absolutely turn around.
Yeah, it's exactly where it needs to turn around as well. That's the thing. You kind of got to think about the likes of knockout. And that's the third set. It can all be done, or it could be the start of something beautiful. Reverse League is on the cards if they do go 2-0 down and manage to secure that knockout set. And even the slightest momentum shift in Brawl Stars can make a massive difference.
Yeah, well guys, I'm sorry to inform you that we will need a couple of minutes to fix some technical difficulties behind the scenes so the players can play in the optimal settings. So we will see you guys in just a couple of minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It seems like the technical difficulties have been sorted out and we can proceed with the remaining games in this first match of the day here for the Clash of Leagues finals here live in Austria, Salzburg. Super thrilled once again to be here in person as well. You know, nice to get some trips going, especially when they're Brawl Stars related. Yeah, my name is Teddy. I'm joined by the one and only Travis. How have you been feeling about that first set, particularly because that's most of what we got so far?
Yeah, just that first set. I mean, SK, regardless of the issues they're having with the team, Jet not being here, Pedro's doing a lovely job. I will say, I was underestimating him a little bit at the start, I will say. Just because, you know, he's been a coach, he hasn't played much competitive, just fill in from time to time for them. But that first showing that he played on Spike, I will say curveball, I mean, you know, it is what it is. But regardless, he's still got some level of skill to play it, and I think he did it perfectly. I mean, if it was enough to take that over Lack, you are a team who can take games off teams like SK, like Big. It's got to have been played to a good level.
I mean, I think overall the pick was just smart, right? Because first of all, Spike is a bit of an easier ball to play for sure, especially with curveball. But secondly, it's also a really strong double switch, so it was not only, you know, an ideal choice regarding the situation, because of the conditions that, you know, Pedro is coming in, standing in as a coach to player here. But also it was the optimal solution, it seems. He was definitely able to hold his own weight. We'll see if they can do so here in Siege. Most likely, yes, as we said a couple of times already today. One of their best game modes overall. They're known for it. They have definitely shown that they can perform on it. Now the question is, in a LAN setting with, you know, a little bit more pressure, maybe some of those mental aspects are going to be harder to focus on. That's where things are getting a little bit more interesting and give some chance to open up a little bit.
Yeah, as I mentioned before the break, Pedro would have been the one helping out with that fault management, so they don't have to think about it directly during the game, just have to focus on their matchups. And now that he is played, it's going to add a bit of an extra layer for SK to be able to take this game. They're going to be able to do the fault management during the game, all on their own. And that can definitely, as easy as it sounds, it can definitely be challenging even for the best teams. One picked up bolt at the wrong time can result in a loss just overall in the game, never mind of one siege bot. If you pick up the wrong siege, you're going to be picking up a lot.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you need to make sure that you get the optimal siege bots. Usually the third one is the most important because you can go all in. You don't have to focus whatsoever on taking back control of the center or holding it. You can just go all in, deal as much damage as you can. If you already got both siege bots before or some good defenses, easy win. Otherwise, no matter what, you stand a chance and you're proactive while your opponents are forced to defend and they can only do so much, especially if it's one of your bigger plots. You know, looking at level 10 plus, it can be extremely damaging. But here we go, guys. Set number 2, starting right about now, and a nice double stamp coming through from Adri. To pick things off, the first block did go in favor of SK. Does get traded out by John and Semantic, as well as Scarix, just barely make it out alive with that foul.
Yeah, I mean, I think that does result in them picking up the first one just as John just can't secure that one at the start. Are going to be using a really premature Sandy Super, I will say, just to try and get that control of mid, and it has worked to perfection. Better Super along the way, but I don't think that's going to matter too much. Just having Skyrim in this optimal position with that pull is going to be so much more advantageous than just having the pull pushing into him, because that's the name of the game in the G pool. You want to be in the position and have someone pushing into you instead of the other way around. And that's exactly what's going to be happening here, especially with Semantic with this peak advantage at max range. He's going to be able to get a lot more supers. He's just going to be a little bit careful with that G pool. And there it is, an absolutely lovely max range pull from Andrew. Time to perfection, and that might switch up who's going to get this push.
Yeah, that's exactly what Nobly needed. They will get a trade out in the end, 2-on-2. John finds Skyrates, and Nobly Black, they are going to secure the second bot, level 7 bot as well. Semantic able to get a nice finish from John. The pool is the answer from Andre. Bolt-wise, it's only a single goal difference. Nobly will get to keep control after this push, and this would actually shape up to be a pretty good game for them.
Yeah, Pedro's looking to try and get some early control returns. He just pushed off that lane, just trying to leave the siege spot for his two teammates who do still have a bit of a damage advantage, but we know for a fact that Barney stays up for this final push. It's all over for SK Gaming. Sandy Super goes down, and so does Pedro. Lovely pull in from Skyrim. Doesn't get a pick up, and the stun comes in. Tanks from Andrew. Lovely team play all round from Noble League. Looking like they're going to be able to pick up this boss. 10 seconds left, and Bolt after Bolt are going back. And that means that it's going to be a need to be a huge defense from SK Gaming here.
It needs to be pretty much flawless, right? 23% difference right now. That's gonna go down quickly, especially with a level 9 bot. All eyes on Noble Elite Black here. Can they find enough damage to secure their first game of the match and really start contesting SK Gaming? The boost comes forward. The bot is gonna get pulled all the way to the right. So far, a little bit of damage coming through. The bot is still there, and that's gonna be enough for Noble Elite Black to secure their first game here in this set, but also in this match against SK Gaming.
Yeah, lovely way to do it as well, and the timing is absolutely perfect. When they need to make a comeback, that's exactly what they did. The team pull was timed to perfection, and as we keep on saying, one pull could change an entire game, and that's exactly what it did there. Perfectly timed, hitting Semantic at max range, getting him in that ISO, take down nice and easily, and then maintaining control from there on. And 2 pushes are definitely going to be able to deal 55% damage, and that's exactly what we saw.
Yeah, good stuff from Noble Elite. And I think, to be completely honest with you, Trav, that Pedro was struggling a lot more with the barley, especially in the mirror matchup, right? You don't get those slightly natural advantages of having a favorable pick, and completely even on that lane, and he lost it very consistently to Noble Elite, and that honestly was a bit of a problem, as Barley as well can extremely quickly help out other lanes and get just, you know, a lot of value out of just a single kill. And I think that Noble Elite did a great job at using that against SK here to secure their first game of the day. Good one to win as well, to be honest, as you don't want to run away with too much of a lead for your opponents. And you're winning the game, and the game where, you know, I would say that there is one team that you expect to perform in Siege is going to be SK, and they started off the game well, just quick throws it out, and the Bolt economy kind of fell apart here as Noble Elite were able to master it and secure both the second and the third button.
Yeah, they just weren't able to start with the bolts. It wasn't a lack of management from them, I don't think. I think it was just they weren't able to get that mid-control where all of the bolts do spawn, so they definitely need to try and think of something that's going to change up a little bit there. I would say, and I didn't mention during the game, the Sandy Super did seem a bit weird as the boss was coming in. Definitely didn't expect it to be doing that, but a bit of a weird comp coming in now from both teams, I would say. Colt, Frank, and also Byron for SK. And we're going to be seeing a triple thrower from Noble Elite, which in the late game is going to struggle a lot with this comp that SK play.
Yeah, it's a good comp in this condition for SK Gaming. Early game is going to be favorable for Noble Elite because they can play off so many walls, and they Frank and also the Byron just not able to find too many angles. But late game, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. And what I think is very odd about this result so far is that the early game, I mean, it's the first bot in favor of SK, so already shaping things up nicely, looking to open up that map furthermore. Skyrit says that Super will definitely use it to get as many rules out of the way as possible, and preferably get a stun or two in there.
Yeah, I think he's looking for some value now, and pushing up along the side is exactly what's going to give him it. Sue comes out, not going to connect with Adria. Lovely juke from him. Herbal Tonic going to come in as well, giving all the heals required to stay up, and it's Semantic all alone now. And it doesn't look like it's going to last for long either as he does go down. Lovely splash from Pedro, but a wall is going to shut off the shot from him to follow him up. And now Noble Elite are in the position that they were in last game, picking up the second push, and a lot of bolts towards the third, along with the control in their hands as well.
Yeah, I mean, bolt-wise, it's even better than the previous one. There's only one more round to go, and they are 2 bolts ahead. Will keep control after this push, and they can find quite a bit of damage, to be honest, especially with Sprout and Dynamite on those sides. They don't quite have a Barley Super, but they can reach that height, and they will take the lead here as well. So SK Gaming, no matter what, absolutely need that final bot if they want to win. Look at that, Semantic is getting pulled out, no gadget to get out of the way, and Andrew just proactively changing the ball up as well, using that gadget to just maximize the utility he can get from it. Semantic looking to find a kill, will find one. John Gunn is low HP, but bolt-wise, this is going to be a close affair. 3 seconds, that doesn't get secured, it's going to be a tie. But that means that now maybe we see a dive coming in for SK Gaming if they want to come back and secure this set. Otherwise, it's going to be for Noble Elite.
Yeah, Semantic looking for a super Scarix and knows he can tank a lot of damage coming in, and I believe a single pulsing from a shot from Byron is going to come a long way. The shots come through, it's not going to secure the super, but the damage comes in anyway, and SK finish it off with a lovely dive and get a game back, but I they probably shouldn't have won looking for the majority of the game as well, I guess.
It was one of those games where Noble Elite played better. They definitely did have more control for more of the time. But I think Pedro, I mean, you know, he was the man that most of us were having doubts about. since he's a coach, he has to stand in as a player here. And he performed. He absolutely performed. I mean, he got the 2 bolts they needed to tie things up. That went a long way and secured that tie, and then they had to go for a dive. Did that wonderfully as well, and just very well played by SK Gaming. If you look at the game, it was a game that was better played by Noble Elite, but that clutch factor is always going to be there when you're facing SK Gaming, and they managed to pull it off 1-1 in the second set, and they're still fighting for it. They don't want to let things get tied up 1-1 in sets. They want to push things to set 3, coming in with a 2-0 lead and just dominate throughout the competition.
Yeah, credit where credit's due there. I must say, Pedro played absolutely incredibly in the late game, and they was struggling a lot, and you expect it with the throws coming in. Byron, with a low amount of HP, is going to struggle heavily against them, but being able to have that clutch factor towards the game that he did have is not something to expect from a coach. That comes with a lot of preparation, consistency, and it's just not what we expected, but it coming through, I'm not going to complain about it at all, because I will say a play like that is hugely deserved from him. He gives his time and effort all the time to help SK get to the top, and a little bit of light on him isn't going to hurt anybody.
No, absolutely not. And yeah, that was definitely impressive. We love to see that. It's going to be a bit devastating to go for Noble Elite Black, since, you know, so far they had been playing that siege set very well, impressively well, in fact. It does get punished here for a couple of mistakes in that final game. Now it's all about making sure they do something that's at the end. Otherwise, we're looking at a 2-0 scoreline in favor of SK, and there's really not a lot of teams in Brawl Esports history that have managed to reverse sweep SK Gaming, but here we go. Set point on both sides, and John on the Mortis could find some value against that double for a call, but so could Buzz on Semantic as well, and he's pretty much going to be invincible with that many HP as well.
Yeah, it's definitely going to provide quite a lot of bit of a safety net against the Mortis. Having that stun with the super is going to go a long way against the Mortis, especially when he wants to start going a bit aggressive. Plus can definitely defend those for us a bit more. You see the stun coming now in the pickup too. Going to be cycling the super, and this is the Sprout defense that I was talking about. Recycling those supers, and also going to be getting his super back, just throwing it down once more. Barley's going to go down along the way too with a bit of a misjudged aggression. Semantic with some lovely plays, getting the double kill in the middle of the map, and this is not what you expect after a push. You expect a lot of aggression needed to get back, but Semantic was able to do it before the point even goes down.
This is an amazing position for SK Gaming, because they have the advantage of defending for that mid zone, and sure, there are going to be kills going back and forth, but in the meantime, all the bolts are going to SK, still 0 so far for Noble Elite since that first push, but they only got 7% damage as well, so things are ending up very nicely. They already have a 4-point lead coming into the final bot, and this one is already a very decent siege bot. Could find some nice damage, especially since that round of Noble Elite does not have a super. John trying his best to defend, but Mortis in defense is just a bit of a nightmare, and this retake has to be absolutely flawless from Noble Elite, because they are 4 volts behind, and SK Gaming, they are looking to just hold down that mid position. Stun coming through from Semantic, doesn't connect. John wants to take him down. Another stun from Semantic takes him down. And now SK Gaming, I think they're going to be running away with the set trap.
It's looking like Star's going to secure yet another, and I believe that's going to make it impossible for Noble Elite to come back, regardless to how many bolts they pick up. Semantic now going to get another stun on, and they've already got the damage lead, which is just going to top it off and make sure they're not going to lose this one. 2 sets up for SK Gaming. We've got to worry about that knockout coming up.
Yeah, good stuff from SK. It's a little bit more shakier in Siege, which is pretty odd, to be honest, just, you know, from their past experience on this mode and how well they've performed here overall. But a win is a win, and they're definitely going to be happy about picking up that set. Noble Elite, yeah, this is not going to be ideal for them. A bit of a heartbreaking one as well, especially since they started the set so nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say not just the set, either the entire, I mean, not the first game, the entire set looked amazing altogether, I must say. They definitely had some good control throughout in different games, and it's just that SK take advantage of the mispositioning a bit better than Noble Elite have been doing. See Semantic going up and getting that double kill, even with the buzz against throwers, that just shouldn't be happening if you get your position right. And I feel a couple of missteps from Noble Elite along the way did cost them a bit more than it should have done. But if we think about knockout coming next, this is the mode that they must feel the most confident on, and they're going to have to be, as it can be the third and final set.
Yeah, Siege was picked by, look at that. In real life spins from Pedro. Just for context, when you spin in the game, it's considered a bit as BS, toxic behavior, flexing on your opponent for your win. Pedro bringing that in real life. We heard rumors about the in real life spins from SK Gaming. Didn't expect to see them this early on in the day, but definitely heating things up here as we will be moving on to knockout on Goran Gavranović. A bit of an interesting mode. I'm just curious to find out how it plays out, to be honest. I mean, nobody picked it, which means I expect them to be very prepared for this one. To have some crazy comps brought in and try to really catch SK off guard for SK. I'm sure they have considered it being played, but they definitely haven't played it quite as much, and this is where nobody can try to close the gap and maybe secure the first set of the game.
Yeah, it was definitely surprising not to see this mode banned for me, because in this best of 5 format, we did only see it in the playoffs. Throughout the league season, we only played a best of 3, so if you don't get knockout on the way, there's still a possibility you will be playing regardless. But in this one, you're going to be guaranteed to be played if you don't ban out of the way, and I feel that's a bit of a mishap from SK Gaming, and it just happened to go wrong here. They've definitely just got to be a bit careful about it and take the right developments, just make the right comps, and that's where it might be a bit shaky, because they're not going to have scrimmed it, well, I doubt they will at least, and that's going to provide you with a bit less analytical prowess than we have in SK.
Yeah, here we go. Leon coming in on the sides of Noble Black, and we've seen how much damage that Goran is going to do, especially with a lot of gadget. But to be honest, Pedro did a great job at dealing with it so far. Already 2 wasted for John. First kill went the way of SK Gaming. They find a second now as well. This is a little worrisome as it's only John left alive. 200 HP goes down, and that's already the first round going to SK Gaming. There's another one to be won if they want to secure this first game of knockout, but so far it's very much looking good for them. They are going to have a bit of an advantage on their supers as well. John is going to have that invisibility available. Pops in now as well. Doesn't get started just yet. Going to be on the push on the right hand side, but as they are clever, they scout him in that push, and they are able to deal with him, and that's a lot of firepower gone for Noble Lead SK Gaming. 3 versus 1 situation. Andre going to be in a lot of trouble. Not a lot he can do in this situation, and that is going to be match point coming up in favor of SK Gaming as Noble Lead struggled in knockout, which was the mode they brought on here for set 3. I was a little disappointed. I expected some more here, but also SK Gaming. I don't know if they prepared knockouts or if they're just that quick for considering the comps and mechanically able to make it work no matter what. But no matter what, they did.
Yeah, it definitely seems they were quite confident in the comp there, so maybe they have had some level of development towards it. I will say though, I do want to shine some light on that Rico super that Pedro did in the second game. That was absolutely amazing. Gave them the upper hand, I will say, as well, because getting that player down allows them to get a bit more pressure over onto the right-hand side, which is where the Leon was hiding. So getting that initial kill and taking the lead allows you to just pinch different walls down and give you the overall control. It's the first kill that makes the biggest difference, and every time it was SK doing it. They didn't die once in that entire set, I will say as well, so still had all of the lives in the world.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, knockout is just such a good game for SK. Pedro, not aware that the game started. You put yourself ready, and then you just don't check the screen for a second, and it's going. And if you go down in knockout, you don't respawn until the end of the round. Here we go, match point for SK Gaming. Noble Elite need a full-on reverse sweep if they want to see a comeback here in this match. Otherwise, it's going to be the end of their journey for the Clash of Leagues playoffs. They're going for a much more tankier and also much more health and healing type of comp here, bringing in the fire and the Gogo to assist that buzz. Can definitely work in the right circumstances. The super is available for Jaja. Now the question is, can he find a lot of value?
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely the comp you're going to take if you do want to upset SK. I feel like maybe they need to be a bit more passive though and wait until that smoke does come in and close the map off a little bit more, where Buzz can try a lot more in the Poco environment once can really focus down on him. Scarix was picked up super nice and early on though, so that opens up a bit of a capability. Semantic looking there as well with his gadget hot. Violent's going to be connected onto, but a gadget and a few heals from Poco, he's back up to full health in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, my eyes are especially on the healers for Noble League Black, because John at some point will have to go in. The question for me is, can he get enough healing to survive off that engagement? as there is going to be quite a bit of action. There is a super Andrew is going to get pulled. He goes down, start from John. There is the trade. John was another kill. Semantic goes down to the storm. And that's going to be Noble Elite with yet another round secured. Actually, their first one in knockout. Let's see what the answer is here. Early aggression there. Semantic forced to jump back, takes down John, and that's most of the firepower for Noble Elite and OSK Gaming. I mean, if they play time, this should be a breeze for them facing two heroes.
Yeah, I mean, that's all of the damage in their comfort gone, all the aggression gone as well, and that's where these brawlers that SK are playing are going to be at the most vulnerable when they've got someone close to them. And now they're able to just keep a range. Bounces coming from Pedro, connecting on Adri, brought it to one shot, the takedown's there. Adri is the only one left now, pull available from Skyrim as well. This is looking like it's going to be going to that final knockout to decide it as Samantha connects the shot. And this is match point now, we'll say match point.
Match point indeed. As if SK Gaming win this round, they will win the match and proceed to the grand finals. Noble Elite, they want to win this game. They want to push things to game number 3 in knockout. So far, a bit of early aggression. The pool connects as well, the pogo, and that's going to be SK Gaming with the man advantage. Need 2 more kills to go to the grand finals.
Yeah, it's looking likely to. They've got that Rico to try and keep John in a bit of a range. Going to be trying to do the same as Semantic as well. That connects, and so does the pick up from Skyrit. It's just a buzz left, and it's looking like it might all be over here. The jump and the bait from Semantic, and the finish off is going to finish this game off as some SK Gaming close out the 3-0.
Good stuff from SK Gaming, performing as expected. Noble Elite, obviously with some good moments. I mean, that first round of the last game of knockout was amazing, an absolute blast to watch. Wasn't quite enough though to secure the match. That's going to be the end of the journey for them for this season of Clash of Leagues. Maybe if there is a next season, we will see them again. No matter what, I mean, I think they perform as good as they could, considering the conditions as well. John from home, not going to be ideal, but I think they did well, considering SK Gaming is, you know, arguably the best team in the world. If not today, they have been for the last 5 months, and they performed at that level of play in this best of 5, getting a 3-0 victory against Noble Elite.
Yeah, a few shaky moments in there, I will say. SK not looking on the tip-top form, which does open a little bit of discussion for the final, what will happen there, but obviously we've got our second game coming up very shortly, Big versus, you know, Dribblers. Going to be the second one, and I must say, I feel like it's going to be just as good as this one was. Definitely wasn't the closest scoreline, but I think that some of the games were definitely up to good standing.
Oh, yeah, they absolutely were. They've shown some great stuff. This is a bit of a replay, bit of a summary of what we saw today. Mostly in favor of SK Gaming. They do take a 3-0 win into the end. I think with some good moments from Noble Elite, both in knockout and in siege. And maybe a little bit more shaky on their end, a little bit more absent in the arena. But, I mean, this is one of the best moments, I think. They get the pull. Skyrit's won a pull as well, but Jonathan gets a nice stun. The elimination on Skyrit. Semantic is forced away because as a Piper, you got to stay at range. And when the range is in the gas, that's not really going to be ideal. It's going to be an easy kill. One of the best moments, I think. Unfortunately, I think Noble Elite needed a lot more of those moments if they wanted to stand a chance against the Titans that SK Gaming are. So, not happening today, maybe next time. SK Gaming, though, they move on to the grand finals, and they'll be facing, you know, the winner of our next matchup. We have got the bracket right in front of your eyes. It's going to be either big or criminal criminal, as they will be the next two teams.
Only lost one singular set of the entire qualifying stage. They came all the way from the reach that we had throughout that few weeks. And then all those were able to sweep completely
together. I think, guys, that we are ready to welcome big to
Wir wissen ja, als normale Spieler bei einem hingefixt wird er da oben. Vor das bei Rocket League so ist, dass die oberen Ligen dann nochmal so extreme Sprünge sind vom Skill-Level her. Da kommst du an den
big names in the Brawl Stars scene, especially lately, right? I mean, this is they're here. Ecuador definitely has the most competitive experience out of the three, coming from last year with Magic League, also with a couple other teams. Looking to show his best level this year was big. Very fresh addition to the roster as well, bringing in a lot of experience, a lot more experience than Lars and Medina have had so far. But they are a roster with a lot of talent, and they're looking to show that off today as well. Fun, right? Germany, besides Aqua, which is from Flat, the only French player today as well.
Yeah, we've been seeing the team do absolutely amazing throughout different dimensions with the consistency. Everyone was added to add that sense of aggressiveness and definitely brought a different level of feel forward and the substitution they did maybe take the equipment out of their team. Different dynamics, added the aggressiveness and the defensive
Ajde, još kak, idemo te najste kamer.
Nema toliko ući puta, bro. Ovo je najčešće.
Da. Sve mak.
No, don't leave me hanging, bro. What? You left me hanging on the camera. Well, you just did that way, come on. It was pretty unfortunate. So where do we go now? What do we do now?
We can go in background or
Should we go to backstage again and chill with that game? Or?
yeah, man.
Okay, if Adri wants to do that, we can do it.
You want to make those finals big, and also be
Wir müssen Minigolf spielen.
Ich darf nicht in die Range gehen. Ein Friend ist
so, wenn die 3 Spiele gegen die bin, hast du da Chance zu gewinnen. Yeah, to that end, probably fading like can play that brawler extremely capably. And it's same with Ekbak on this Leon as well. We've seen him absolutely popping off recently on that brawler. And that's probably why he's decided to bring him here with him.
Yeah, so far, although percentage-wise it does look really nice for some of those vehicles, you can see the way the zones are on the map. It is a